E mua ono whaatalofa atu i o paia ma mamalu mawalunga. I paia ma mamalu o tangata e ana nei whanua o loo ngalu nue eile nei pokalame o Treasure Islands. Tangata na mua i Malae. Le tangata Parramatta le nei maile i tū malo o tangata Darek. O lātou tua a, ma lātou a inga, o loo no nofo ma tau sia nei whanua mai le amatanga e o le whaavavau. O le nei pokalame na whausia ma nisi o tangata mai le Atanu Pasifika o loo no nofo i Sydney o Sitalia. O le nei ngaluenga. O tala lava o tangata mai lona lava i loa i Measina, ma tala o Measina o loo teoina i le Powerhouse Museum. A whai o iaise upu po se tala wopa o i papa. Wha maangalo le nei au auna vai. Tātou te wha maruru atu o le a mātou wha soa i le ngana wha peritania. Ai usi mailo sila o le a mātou taumawhai atu. Alofa atu le lau leo tanoi. Talofa lava. Welcome to the Discovery Centre here at Castle Hill, Museum of Applied Arts and Science, the Powerhouse Museum. We're here deep in the stores. There's 500,000 objects, but we are calling them treasures. We're going to be visiting a place that is known as the Navigator Islands. The Samoan word for white man or European is called Papalangi. In a lot of maritime records, we see the people describing the Polynesian boats as very small with the mast very low and very quick, and that their boats used to circle around the big European boats. So when the Samoans first saw the European boats come bursting out and into our world, the kids went, Papalangi, Papalangi, the mast that went to the top of the sky. So we'll be visiting the Navigator Islands. We're going to be talking to two lovely princesses to talk about some Samoan material culture. Come on our waka and we're going to ride the oceans, the ngalu, a whio mai, susu mai, maliu mai.
Ia whawhatai lava la lau, ia whaatalo whaatu I le paia ma le mamalu o loo mai moa ma whaafunga mai I le nei polokalame o loo ingoa Mary Jane o te sau mai le nuu o Asau, Awala, ma matawai sa afunga savai. I basically said hello and thanked Leo for introducing us. My name is Mary Jane. I come from villages of Awala, Asau and Matawai in Savai, Samoa. I'm very proud. I'm a very proud Samoan. I live here in Sydney, Australia, and I run a centre called Matawai Pacific Cultural Arts with my family. And it's a passion, and it's such an honour and privilege to be able to share what we love, our culture, with others.
Talofa lava, my name is Moimoana Safaatoa Shwenki. I hail from Samoa. I'm a proud Pacific Islander, proud Samoan. I hail from the villages of Awala, Matawai Asau in Sabai and Vawala. And it is a privilege to be here, so thank you for having us. I am a performing artist and also an Indigenous advocate, and I am very passionate about teaching the younger generations about their culture and strengthening their identities as well.
What does this tapa cloth, or better known in our language, Samoan and siapo, what does the siapo mean to you?
Well, when it was placed on my lap, I feel quite emotional, first of all.
Okay.
For us and our culture, like what I'm wearing here is a iakoma. And a siapo like this would have been made by women of the village, the women's committee. I also think of the stories that would have been told whilst they were making it. I would have thought of their life challenges, their heartaches and their happiness. I almost feel like unworthy of having it on my lap because it's something that we rarely have or can see or actually touch. Even in Samoa, we don't have treasures this old that you can just hold like this. A siapo is worn for special occasions that we know of now, such as what Moimoana is wearing. We use this to dance in, and we're very specific about when we are dancing, that we choose the cultural attire that is native to our people, made by the hands of our mothers and our aunties. Because I feel that when we wear it, we're wrapped in love, and we're wrapped in history and wisdom. So this siapo represents all of that to me. And it's a great honor to be able to feel it and touch it and hold it.
That's awesome. Discussing with you earlier off camera, we were talking about making your costumes. Where did you get yours? Did somebody make it for you, or how does it work?
The siapo that I'm wearing is from Sabai, made by a women's committee. And we use a lot of natural resources because they're treasures passed down from our ancestors, and because they are biodegradable, and we reuse them on the kids. And
these ones were made in Palauli.
Hello.
Palauli, that village and area, has a very deep and long history. In fact, we have mounds that are found there, Pulumele mounds, which archaeologists are now discovering. There's such an extensive history that almost they liken to Egypt, which I find absolutely amazing, because there's so much that we are only scratching the surface of about our people, because we don't often learn about it. We can't learn it at school, which is why places like the Powerhouse Museum and Pacific Cultural Arts Centers like ours, it's the opportunity to create a space where we can speak about these, and then that strengthens your own, or empowers you. I don't know if you know what that means, but for somebody that's been raised in Australia, how has it made you feel knowing more about yourself and learning and wearing treasures like this?
Well, I guess you understand yourself deeper when you know the people that have come before you and the journey that was made, the sacrifices that were made for you to be where you are in the present.
Do you think kids are interested in our material culture of the past?
Yeah, I think it's a learned thing too, especially for the diaspora, for people that live overseas. But even though kids in Samoa too, it's not something that you see every day, a siapo, or people wear a siapo. So I think as elders, as you and I, Leah, and places like the museum where we're able to present such treasures to the community and for them to be able to see it and talk about it, you know, those are creating opportunities for people to gain more experience with it, what it was used for, the history, such as, like, for me as a modern Samoan, I question like the circles on here, because if you look at Fijian tapa, or there's a lot of circles that I notice. I'm not an expert, but I notice circles on the Tongan tapa cloth. So I look at that and I think, geez, is that to do with the influence of Fiji or Tonga in Samoa? So it already has so many questions for me. Why did they create the patterns? What are the patterns symbolic of? What are they, even though they look like the same, but each one would have been put there for a reason. Is it a tree? Is it is it a raindrop? What does it represent? And from there, so much more comes to my mind, like the story of the people that made it and what they went through. What made them choose these designs? What kind of messages are they leaving for people like myself so that we can perpetuate and leave a legacy that will live on forever? Our culture is 3,500 years old, and I would love for it to live for another 3,500 years old. So being able to touch this and then go home and tell my own young kids that I actually felt a siako this old, it's something that's priceless.
It is. And the good thing about these sort of projects is that we can share with our wider community online the fact that there are these treasures and that they have been stored away for us, and for us to re-engage them and to bring stories out of them.
Absolutely. We have a deep respect for nature. And like Munwana said, this is biodegradable material. It's taken with the greatest respect. In cultures like Maori cultures, they actually pray to a god and ask for permission to take things from the forest, even something as little as a leaf. So there's great consciousness put into creating this from the time that they get the bark, they approach the tree, when they bring it out, the process that they have to take to get it to this, it would have taken days, weeks, conversations, dreams, and hopes.
But the image that you see, Moana, could you tell us what stories or what thoughts it evoked in you?
In Samoan culture, our history, our legends, our mythology teach us that women were warriors. And here we have a high chief's daughter, Ataupo, seated in the picture. She looks very brave, very confident. Our history tells us that women were matriarchs, and we do not need to look to Western constructs of gender equality, because when we just look into our history, we see that women were very powerful in our culture as well. She is seated with a tuinga on her head, which is a very important headdress. It's almost like a crown in Samoan culture, and it shows and symbolizes her status, being the chief's daughter.
Does everybody wear the tuinga, or?
It really should only be worn by our highest of chiefs or taupo or manaya for special occasions.
Yeah. What are you wearing? You look similar to.
This is lopa, so
yes.
the red seeds here,
yeah.
And this is just a copy of it. It's not a real one. This one's made out of wood.
Yeah.
That is it real teeth? It's not boar's teeth, is it? The boar's teeth.
If you're lucky enough, you can get whale's teeth.
Teeth.
If you ain't got whale's teeth, I think you can get pig's teeth.
Yeah.
And then they put it around her.
And red feathers were very important. And it's a sacred color in our cultural for much of Polynesian cultures, and it also symbolizes status. And it was feathers were once upon a time traded between Fiji via the Tongans, and they were brought into Samoa. And the Samoan chiefs used to collect them for things like our balefuyongo, which is the headband, or the tuinga. And so were the shells. The Nauticus shells was also imported from places like Fiji and Tonga into Samoa. And it's important to note that it's real hair too. It's hair that's either been preserved or been cut off from grandparents, grandmothers, and it's a separate. So there's 3 pieces, I think, of a tuinga. 1, 2, 3. Could be wrong. There might be 5, but the hair is a separate piece that goes on. In the process, there's a whole process to putting a tuinga on your head.
And could I also just ask you generally about the kids here in your school and kids generally? Do they jump at the idea of learning dances across multicultural performances, say Samoans learning Fijians and Tongan dances?
Yes, they do. And usually the interest comes from the parents first, not so much the children, and then they come to Matawai, and then all of a sudden they see the Fijians perform, and then they see the Hawaiians, and they want to end up doing all of the dances, especially when they're learning about legends or songs, or the tutors who are well versed in their culture know stories of the connection between the islands. So how Fiji overlap with Samoans, Samoans with Tongans, Tahitians. We all intermarried at some point. We traveled to and from one another's islands like it was nothing. Now you need to go on a plane, but once upon a time we used to just traverse the seas, the biggest ocean in the world, very easily. So through the cultural arts, the songs and the dance, we also learn about our connection to one another, which makes me feel a lot bigger than, say, when somebody says I'm just from a little small island or dot on the map, because we actually are from a huge community.
What is your main thoughts, or what have you taken away from coming to the collection and seeing all of our treasures?
For myself, it's an absolute honour to see treasures Messina from hundreds of years ago, and I almost feel as if when I see them or touch them like now that I'm feeling the hands of my ancestors who put blood, sweat and tears into making this.
Yeah, same for me. Like I said, I was really emotional. I probably cried 3 or 4 times, even just thinking about it when I'm at home and coming back here. We have great respect for our elders and for our past, and we're very much a people that are about each other and community. We're not an individualistic culture, which I'm proud about. But when I see this, it makes me remember that each and every one of us as Pacific Islanders, whether it's Samoan, Tongan, we have a duty to our islands, that we leave a legacy much like they've left us, that is one of strength, and that we share this with our kids, and that each culture and people have challenges, but we need to always try our best to be the best that we can be. Our people were people of excellence. We were brilliant seafarers. We were scientists, and we need to remember this. When you see a siapo like this, there was science that went into this, and we need to remember who we are. Because if we remember who we are, and we carry that every day, hold our head up higher, we can achieve anything, just like our ancestors did. So, thank you for having us.